we must discuss the fascist message that Donald Trump sent out in response to this Twitter files story that was supposed to prove that Hunter Biden's story that broke and Joe Biden's interference was the whole thing. And it wasn't, as we just broke down. To summarize, because this will be an individual clip on YouTube, really all it proved is that Joe Biden sent a request while he was just a private citizen running for president to Twitter to take down a nude photo of Hunter Biden that was against Twitter's terms of service. And Twitter has followed similar requests and fulfilled similar requests from Trump while he was president. So actually a more significant example of these powerful people asking Twitter to do certain things. And so it's just not the bombshell that they had hoped. Well, that's not how Trump took it. And instead, he decided this was his chance to call for the Constitution to be taken, ripped up in a bunch of pieces, and thrown in the garbage, as you'll see in this message right here. So, with the revelation of massive and widespread fraud and deception in working closely with big tech companies, the DNC and the Democrat Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election? And I will note, that was all one sentence. A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. And there are just capitalizations all throughout this with no purpose. But, and founders is in quotes, founders, wink, wink. The part that is being focused on is he said, a massive fraud that didn't happen of this, that wasn't him, that was me, but of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Terminate the Constitution is the summarized version of that. Just throw out all the rules and regulations and institutions and articles, even those in the Constitution. That's what he's calling for. It's not, they're not even hiding anymore. It's just...
That is actually insane.
It is. And for so long, we said, guys, be careful. The tendencies that we're seeing in Donald Trump are very fascistic. He seems to want kind of more dictatorial influence and power. He doesn't seem to respect our democracy. Then we got that proven correct in his election denialism and attempts to stay president even though he lost, and wanting to throw the democracy in the trash to keep himself in power. And now he's openly admitting it on social media and saying, terminate the Constitution because I lost an election and something was put on Twitter. So then just today, this was a few days ago they said that, just today, a couple days ago at least, when that first message came out, then he follows up because he saw all the press coverage of how wild what he said was and is trying to kind of walk it back as he continues on Truth Social. The fake news is actually trying to convince the American people that I said I wanted to terminate the Constitution. Funny, it's because you did. This is simply more disinformation and lies, just like Russia, and all of their other hoaxes and scams. What I said was that when there is massive and widespread fraud and deception, as has been irrefutably proven in the 2020 presidential election, steps must be immediately taken to right the wrong. Only fools would disagree with that and accept stolen elections. MAGA. He just ends with MAGA. So I don't really know what that was because he just repeated what he said before. Okay, I don't like the words terminate the Constitution because it shows how fascist I am, so instead I just want to make it right. Wank, wink, wank. Well, I loved how this CNN contributor stated it in response to this. Take a look.
As divisive as him. And I hate to inform the former president, the Constitution is not like a spouse. You can't just get rid of it when it no longer suits your purposes. The Constitution is here to protect the rights of all Americans.
That's brutal.
That's pretty good.
And that is how he manages his marital reality. And then we're going to look at Republicans, one in particular, squirming, trying not to fully condemn what Trump said, because again, the Republican Party was the one that probably talked more about the Constitution. Now, I think the left has always respected the Constitution, or at least you would hope, but the Republican Party tried to brand themselves as the Constitution Party, And now one of the big leaders and current presidential candidate within their party is just openly calling to throw it in the dumpster, and they still can't, some of them, heavily condemn it and say they won't support him. And look at this MSNBC host, and then I'll give you a specific example, kind of making fun of the fact that these Republicans can't muster the strength to speak out against him in the way that they should.
You're walking into the Capitol, right? Reporters are approaching you. There's Casey Hunt. There's Lemire. Okay, they're coming up to you and they get a mic in your face and they say, what do you think of Donald Trump wanting to terminate the Constitution, right? Here's your moment. It's the biggest softball of your life. Okay, this is your moment. And here you go. I'm going to give you why don't you write this down, okay? To terminate the Constitution is to terminate America. Donald Trump is wrong, and I can no longer support him at all as a presidential candidate, as an American citizen. You can't be an American citizen and want to terminate the Constitution. You can do it. Write it down.
That is so good. So she's taunting them, of course, saying, these are the words we should hear coming out of your mouth. But instead, this is what we've got from a lot of people within the Republican Party, specifically GOP congressmen. Let's see here. It'll pop up on the screen. But a GOP congressman who literally could not get himself to clearly say he wouldn't support Trump. Instead goes, I don't think Trump will be the nominee, but if he is, I guess I would have to support him. And this is Representative Dave Joyce on ABC. Take a look.
To be able to live and take care of their family.
But Donald Trump was your nominee in 2016 and 2020. You voted for him in 2016 and 2020. Now he's talking about suspending the Constitution. Can you support a candidate in 2024 who's for suspending the Constitution?
Well, again, it's early. I think there's going to be a lot of people in the primary. I think at the end of the...
We'll continue it, but no. Hey, could you support someone who openly calls to throw the Constitution in the trash and throw a match in? Well, you know, it's a long time till 2024, buddy. Circle back with me later.
The day you will say whoever the Republicans end up pick, I'll fall in behind because that's...
Even if it's Donald Trump as he's called for suspending the Constitution?
Well, again, I think it's going to be a big field. I don't think Donald Trump's going to clear out the field like he did in 2016.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you, if he's the nominee, will you support him?
I will support whoever the Republican nominee is. And I just don't think that at this point he'll be able to get there because I think...
But if he does, you're great with lining up behind someone, his words, who just called to terminate the Constitution. Coming from, I'm sure, someone who's talked about the sanctity and importance of our Constitution. Now, if you thought it couldn't get any more wild than that, a former Republican congressional candidate, Shukri Abdirahman, sent out a message and said, we can no longer get rid of tyranny with ballots. It's only by bullets now. Openly calling for violence, and that did eventually get taken down off of Twitter. But holy smokes, then you have Charlie Kirk coming out and saying in response to the Twitter story, just kind of in this line of a scary reality that's being built. If Twitter hadn't interfered in the 2020 election, there never would have been any issue on January 6th. So using the violence of the mob he's helped to incite as a threat, as a tool in this political reality. Now, to give you perspective, this was put together by Media Matters in a really nice way. The difference in tone that Fox News will take on the Constitution when they're trying to attack the left versus now, once Trump said this, just come out against the Constitution, and how, number one, I looked and where the analysis was before I went live today, they had done 1 minute of coverage on him saying that. And you'll see what that coverage looks like in a second here.
Democrats.
But the first batch you'll hear is past statements that Fox News has made about how important the Constitution is.
They're compliant lapdog stenographers in the mob and the media. They are now willing to shred the Constitution.
I couldn't have imagined that we'd come to this situation where these people who are leaders of the opposing party would just tear up the Constitution.
This is the ongoing pattern and practice of trying to basically shred the Constitution.
The left has always looked down on America. They want to tear up the Constitution, overturn it, and rewrite it.
For the last 4 years, we have heard that Donald Trump is an autocrat who wants absolute authority, an egomaniacal narcissist who wants to tear up the Constitution, ignore Congress. do whatever he wants to enact his rules and
Gosh, our predictions were correct about him, dang.
policies. But in reality, he didn't do any of those things that he's been accused of.
Donald Trump said this on Truth
So now it switches over to what their coverage just recently of him saying this on Truth Social.
Donald Trump said this on Truth Social. I want to put it up. Talking about this. Do you throw out the presidential election results of 2020 and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election, making himself? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. It's gotten a lot of media criticism on that. You can make up your own mind. Next on Media Buzz, more on Twitter.
Oh, is that right? You can make up your own mind. I want you to do a little test in your head, okay? Imagine after the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton came out and said, does the Russian interference, that, to be clear, a Russian oligarch has admitted to, and the intelligence agencies have confirmed that there was indeed Russian influence in our election, meaning they, mainly on social media and troll farms or bot farms, whatever you call them, tried to stir up dirt and do certain things to help Trump. But I don't even think that makes his presidential election illegitimate. No, we need to figure out how we can prevent foreign countries from influencing our elections. But as long as our actual ballot voting process is secure, then of course, if you can win and we had a legitimate election, you should become president, even if I hope we can work to prevent outside influence going forward. But let's say with that story having broken, Hillary Clinton said, we should throw out the Constitution, throw out all rules and regulations, and make me president. What would Fox News' coverage? Would it be, and you can make up your own mind, or would it be hair on fire and only talking about that story for months straight? It would be the latter for sure. And so you can see there the hypocrisy on all of this. Very scary moment that we're in. A presidential candidate who still has a chance of becoming the Republican nominee openly calling to trash the Constitution. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before any of the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get access to an extra full show every Saturday that only members can see, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Luke Beasley. That's patreon.com/Luke Beasley, and there is a link in the description.